30% more energy. So how are you, Boston? Now let's get it clear. If you've never been to one of my panels before, the rules are simple. At no point do you raise your hand or do this. No, if you like something, you cheer. Like if we say Hitman's awesome, you go. And if they say we've canceled all the other episodes, you go. Thank you, I like you here. Where's my money? That would also be an acceptable response. Good call. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a hell of a show planned. I'm Greg from Kinda Funny. How are you? Thanks for coming out today. I want you to know I've hosted a lot of panels at PAX. Not just this PAX, lots of PAXs. I love how orderly they are. They're doing the ballsy thing of telling you everything that's going to be presented today. So if you'll give me a second, I'd like to know that today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about the past, the present, and the future of Hitman. We're going to talk about the story, writing process behind an episodic game. We're going to talk about all the content that's happening between episodes. We're going to have a trailer premiere. Now you, sir, there. You there, goatee. Yes, you did this. Don't raise your eyebrows. Again, we're going to have a trailer premiere, sir. There we go. All right, there we go. Cool. Now, I wasn't pointing at you, but I'm glad you picked up his slack altogether, sir. We're going to check out episode 2, a little stuff from Italy. How's that sound? And then, of course, a Q&A session, because we all want to talk to you. But first, let's introduce our lovely panel. I'm going to start right here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Sven. Give him a round of applause.
Hello, lovely people.
Sven, what do you do here? What do you do on the Hitman game?
I'm the global brand PR.
That sounds like a big game. Big job for a big man.
Yeah, it's like a Swiss Army knife, actually.
Swiss Army knife. Does a little bit of everything. Okay.
It's a little bit of everything, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Torben. Torben, how are you?
I'm good.
What do you do on the game?
I'm the lead online designer on Hitman.
A round of applause. Thank you. And then Michael, rounding out the group. How are you? Everybody, a round of applause for Michael.
Thank you so much.
Michael, what do you do?
I'm the lead writer for the game.
You write the game?
I do.
Possibly a bigger job than yours, Sven. Not going to lie. Guys, let's start at the top. Hitman, Episodic. First part came out in March.
Right.
How's that going for you? Was it what you expected, moving on, doing an episodic Hitman?
You know, man, it's going great. It's a very exciting time for us. We always said this is the beginning of a journey, and now we're actually on the road. And we really enjoy the position that we're in, because we're finally being able, because of the online nature of the game, to, expand, evolve, and improve Hitman like we've ever wanted. So that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been something that we've been working towards pretty much from the genesis of the project. This whole idea that we would be with the players as they were playing the game. We saw this with the beta that came out before the game even launched, with the first part of the game, the training facility. And just looking at what you guys were doing with that, and knowing that we could respond, knowing that we could add, improve and change the game based on what was happening it was a dream come true as a dev. Just the fact that, I remember we were watching a live stream. I forget who it was who was streaming it, but
Probably kind of funny. Probably.
Probably.
But just halfway through it, someone said, use the hammer, right? And the guy picks up the hammer and throws the hammer at someone and knocks him out. And what else can you use the hammer for? And then suddenly people are using the hammer to complete the entire mission. And we look at each other and think, that needs to be a challenge, and that challenge needs to be called Hammer Time. So we put it in the game. And in old games, we couldn't do that. It was impossible. We would have to patch and resub and nightmare, right? But we could do it. We could look at what was happening. We could make it better, and we could take the crazy, fantastic stuff that fans were doing and actually slot it back into the game. And just speaking as a dev who makes a game that people do crazy things with, the ability to turn that around and put it back in the game was just fantastic.
Yeah. And on the narrative side, even during the beta period, we noticed that people were starting to theorize on the forums about this and that character. Are they important to the storyline? What is the storyline? And then I can take my cues from that. I can go, that's actually a good idea. Maybe this should be an important character.
Yeah. So who's played episode 1? Oh my God, guys, seriously, the hand raising? Did I not just yell at this guy? Who here's played episode 1? Who's liked episode 1? I have to imagine part of that has to be terrifying for you, right? Episode 1's out, and you have all these other plans, and it's not like before where you make a game and you go to wait a couple of years. Now it's instantaneous feedback, and I assume it sounds like a lot to take on that everyone suddenly has an opinion about something you're still working on. Is it easy? Is it fun? Is it exciting? Or is it just the worst thing ever?
I think it's a bit of column A, a bit of column B. It's great. I mean, when we put out like escalations that are these weekly little challenges that we put out, I mean, the moment it goes live, we're Googling for people who are live streaming it and watching what they're doing and laughing and screaming and wondering why we didn't change something when it proves too easy or too hard. So on the one hand, I mean, it's what we set out to do, but actually eating that dog food, right? Actually watching people being very passionate about the game is, it's an absolute eye-opener. I mean, launching a AAA game like this is nothing I've ever done before. I don't think many people have done it.
Sure. Sven, as the head of global PR and all this other jazz, do you have to walk around and like tell the team not to, don't take that too hard, or don't get caught up, why are they getting, you have to try to manage everybody's expectations of people as they play it?
No, not really. I mean, as Torben already
Sven,
explained.
this is not your first.
No, I'm sorry.
I apologize for Sven.
Yeah, apologies. I was too laid back here like this.
You're too casual. It's just a conversation between a few hundred friends.
And the whole of the interwebs. So, yeah, as Torben already said, like, it's actually more of a blessing.
Really?
I mean, of course, it's hurtful when someone, kind of slaps your child in the face. But on the other hand, maybe there was a reason for it. So we try to learn and improve the game on the way. And that's just like, as I said in the beginning, that's the super exciting part about it.
So how much are you guys able to take from the reaction of episode 1 and start building episode 2, episode 3? Or was episode 2 so far along that there's no real interaction between it?
Well, I mean, it's all about loops, right? Building something the size of Sapienza, that has a really, really massive loop. But something like adding a challenge to the game or turning around and building a new escalation, we can do that. We can do that in days. And I mean, that's what's so fantastic about being in this situation. I mean, it simply wasn't possible even like 2 years ago. Just being in a position where the technologies are mature and the way people play games have changed means we can see what someone's doing and we can turn it around and make it into part of this common experience.
It's almost magical.
Totally.
So then, Michael, what does it mean for you? You're the guy who's making the story. You're sitting down, you're writing this thing. Like, are you able to take feedback from episode 1 and apply it to episode 2?
Well, that depends on. I mean, the main story is, of course, we're way ahead of the curve.
Sure. You're going somewhere. There's a thing that's happening.
But yes, we can. I mean, at least we can look at how people experience the stories and see if we can somehow improve on the way we present it, because it is an extremely complicated game also as a writer, because it's sandbox. You don't know what people are doing.
Exactly.
You don't know how they so we can definitely look at how much of the narrative do people actually experience and maybe find ways to communicate better.
Has it surprised you watching streams of episode 1 or people playing episode 1, how they're doing it and how they may not be ingesting the story the way you assume they would?
Well, I mean, in a game like Hitman, I know that as a writer, I cater to a select crowd in a way that people play the game in very different ways. So it's something you have to make your peace with, that not everyone experience your work, but that's part of the strength, I think, of the game.
So then, I guess what's it like, Sven, for you when you're talking about this giant Hitman game, right? And trying to stress that there's a story here, right? That Michael's working on this narrative and stuff, and that it's going to branch between the episodes, right? Because I think so many people think of Hitman and they think of, all right, cool, dropped into this is my mission, kill the guy, get out, and not necessarily pay attention to what's happening. But there's a bigger picture here, right?
Yeah, definitely, there's a bigger picture, but maybe Michael can expand on that as well, because, I mean, for this season 1, it's more about really the nature of Agent 47, and we introduce characters and all, but we don't hit the story at this point too hard, right, Michael?
Definitely. There is a bigger picture. We have a main storyline that's fairly big and ambitious, but it unfolds over a long period of time, over several seasons of releases, which of course means that we can take our time with it, and we're taking it deliberately slow. So in season 1, the story is more of a background presence, and we've decided to focus more on the experience of the world of Assassination, and we thought we wanted to establish a sense of normality where players get to feel what it's like to be the apex predator, as we call him, to be the best assassin in the world, and get accustomed to that world before we throw a lot of story at them. So season 1 is really more of an act 1 of a much larger storyline, and we introduce the main characters, we introduced a mystery and a central conflict and all that. But really we're only building towards a season 2 that's much more story focused. And I think people will see as the season progresses that the main story and the mission stories will start to merge and then build towards a hopefully exciting turnaround.
I like it. I like the fact that you're giving, it's what I was saying to you, Sven, before you threw it over to Michael because you're a coward and don't answer questions, is the fact that, okay, whoa, hold on, you're not a good level to be throwing fake punches.
That's a very good
No,
level.
the fact that, I think so many people think of Hitman, they think of the missions, they don't think of a story, but to ease us into it through it. What are you looking to in terms of, inspiration for the story? Are you watching movies, reading books?
A little bit of everything, I guess. I see this game as a classic spy thriller, as a genre. And the tone is very, it's dry, it's fairly serious, it's naturalistic, it's very much grounded in reality. We don't go for that save the world type of epicness. I guess something like Casino Royale would be a good comparison. Also, the first Mission Impossible film, the Brian De Palma one,
Sure.
That's stuff we've been looking at. And it is a very exclusive fantasy in this iteration, at least. 47 is very much the best of the best, which also means that he only moves in the higher circles of society. It's all about, obviously you can play the game in any way you want, but the fantasy is really about being a master strategist, not an action hero. And
Is that hard, though? Is it hard to write a story like that? First off, to write this story that in the beginning you're not putting too much story in, but ramping up as you go. But secondly, a story where I feel like my Agent 47 is probably so much different than your Agent 47, right? The way I tackle the mission, the way I'll go about something. I feel like it's got to be tough to write that in a way that everybody hits the same points, but they get there however they want.
In the fantasy, there is an official version of Agent 47, and that is the silent assassin, who's almost like a magician in a way. Sometimes I call it's Ocean's 11 with murder. You pull off this impossible feat, right? And that's the official version. And the official 47 is never seen. He's never noticed. He always performs perfectly. He never kills anyone except for his target. But then, of course, we hand over the reins to the player, and it's basically a challenge saying, can you perform as well as 47?
And mostly you can't. No, I'm a bumbling idiot. I'm caught left and right. I'm totally ruining the story for you. You're at home pulling your hair out.
Absolutely. The second you pull out a gun, you destroy all my work.
So then, is it fun and liberating to write for several seasons at once, or at least planning several seasons at once?
I think so. It gives us a lot of, we have a lot of time on our hands, which means that, you can avoid what I call the narrative wall. Some call it law bombs, where you have to front load a lot of story before you can get into the game. This way we can throw you straight in there, and the story will just evolve slowly along the way. So I think it's liberating, really.
So since Agent 47 is always so quiet and doesn't get to say anything, and that's canon, not my Agent 47 running and everybody screaming at him. Is it cathartic then to write for the NPCs? Like these characters who get to do all these goofy things and be the mouthpieces and be the drunk idiot on the yacht?
We have so many layers of dialogue. There's all the key characters that ties to the story. And then we have all the ambient life, all the NPCs. It's actually really fun, and I think that's part of the charm about Hitman for me, is that it takes place in a completely civilian world. It's a very ordinary place. There aren't any demons or aliens or anything like that. No, our targets are...
But DLC, you could always
well,
add
fair
in.
enough, yeah. I'm sure Torben will come up with something, but...
Why do I get blamed for this?
Torben, this is your job. You're the gameplay guy, so put some aliens in there.
Yes.
Is it fun for you? Do you get to screw around with when he gives you these stories and then you get to do these goofy NPC things?
Absolutely. My whole approach to the game is, it's the big loop, right? It's what you do for the many hours that people are playing around in Paris, and completing challenges and unlocking new gear and getting engaged with all of the content that we put into the game between these big releases. So, Michael's stuff is the backdrop. It's the framing and the experience of being Agent 47, and I step into that world and do basically just provide lots and lots of tools for people to be creative and quite frankly, pretty nuts.
Yeah, well, that's, I mean, been pretty clear. I think even a little bit just with Hitman. What I love is the fact that, you know, episode 1 over, but you're doing so much still, right? There's
Yes,
stuff
absolutely.
happening between the episodes.
I mean, what we envisaged this idea of being big loops and small loops and really tiny loops. So seasons are like the supermassive loops that move the world forward and introduce new characters and really expand this world of Assassination. And then we've got the episodes that come out and bring out a new location or a new theme and a whole package of new things that you can do in these locations. And the guy up on the screen there in that fantastic hat
I was going to say, I don't think I've unlocked this outfit yet.
No. But you may have noticed that we put in an entire pack of challenges based around the Vampire Magician. This is the Vampire Magician, if you couldn't work that out from context.
If anyone's shocked, Vampire Magician.
But I mean, the Hitman franchise has a history of weird and wonderful disguises. So this was one of the ones that we put into the level. It's in a location. I won't spoil it for those of you who haven't found it. But what we saw in streams and on the forums and in all kinds of different places where people were doing what they've always done with Hitman games, which is creating little challenges for themselves. Okay, take out the targets dressed as the Vampire Magician. Do the game in this way, do the game in that way. And we were able to see that happening and build that into a package of challenges that we could then slot into the game. And that really fits well with this idea of the game expanding over time. When it shipped, it was a full game. And halfway through, we noticed that people were engaging with a particular set of disguises and a particular type of gameplay. And that was fantastic. So we can take that and actually bring it back and make it part of the game. And that's maybe one of the tightest loops that we have. We can do that in days to weeks, depending on consoles and submission and that kind of thing.
So is that, I mean, for you, like one of the big benefits of being episodic? Like we talked about earlier, I'm a coward, so I'm talking about the fear and like, oh my God, what if they don't like it? But like for you to be able to look in the back end and see this.
Absolutely. I mean, I was on Absolution, and I built the contracts mode asynchronous multiplayer for Absolution, where you could make little murder mysteries and share them with your friends. And you saw people doing fantastic things and using the system and breaking the economy and all of these things. And
Fantastic things. Breaking the game they worked so hard on.
Well, but that's the point, right? We have people on the team who see, for example, someone piling up a huge mound of bodies in one of the bathrooms so they can hide from NPC raycasting so nobody sees you, right? Someone comes in to investigate, the guy pops up, whacks him in the head with a hammer and disappears again. It's like reverse whack-a-mole in a pile of corpses. It's awful and has nothing to do with the fantasy, but people love it.
Of what 47 would never do.
Exactly, but people embrace it. And where some game developers, studios would see that as an abuse of the system that must be fixed. I mean, fix that somehow. I look at it and I see creativity, and I see if I can do that, you can do that. So build a game that embraces that. And we're in a position now, maybe a little bit dull to talk about it, but the technological platform that we've got, this system of interlocking pieces of the game that we can slot together more or less driven from the servers, allows us to embrace that in a way that was just science fiction just 2 years ago. So yeah, it's a rough road, yeah, it's clunky, yeah, we've got a lot to learn, but looking at the game as Hitman's online designer, I see promise in this for a way of delivering Hitman experiences for many, many, many episodes to come. And yes, it's terrifying, but I mean, it's fantastic at the same time.
So, I mean, you mentioned Absolution. Is that where Escalation is born? Where you're like, because you're right? It is that thing, hanging out in my basement playing a game with a friend. I'm like, well, I did all this. Can you do it? And he runs around and tries to.
Yes, I mean, actually, straight after Absolution was built and shipped, we started on the first basic prototypes of Escalations. Escalations is basically a game mode where we challenge you to do something and then change the rules. So we could say to you, take out Rémi Grippon, dressed as a waiter with a saber. Do that, it'll take you a couple of minutes. No big no big thing. Then we say, okay, you did that. Can you do it if you also have to hide the bodies within 90 seconds? Okay. Can you also do it if you also need to take out that guy down there in a different way? Okay. Can you also do it if we've packed the level with laser tripwires that will only explode on Agent 47? Again, completely out of fiction, but a lot of fun. So we very quickly realized that what this was doing was moving your headspace away from the apex predator and down to the mechanics. I mean, someone somewhere described it as coin, 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 magic outfit change, smash and head, coin, coin, right? And these are the mechanics of
Obviously.
the game. Throw the coins, hit the guy, dodge, change disguise, dodge again, throw more coins, right? It's focusing in on the mechanics, and it made so clear that there was a lot of fun to be had if you set up rules that help you step outside of the fiction.
Do you feel, I mean, obviously you have all these folks here, a bunch of people got the game. You've all enjoyed Hitman, correct? Like, I think it was, for me, it was a telling thing of not only seeing, my audience talk about it on PS I Love You or whatever, or pop up and talk about it there. I noticed, like, one weekend, Steve Gaynor, who's the guy who made Gone Home, is working on Tacoma, right? He popped up and he was like, holy shit, did they nail this Hitman game. Like, this is the Hitman game I've always wanted because I feel like Hitman. And he was talking about all this stuff. And I was like, it's high praise to see him saying it. You know what I mean? Like, you guys have done well with it. So congratulations, I guess. That's cool. Or whatever.
Say thanks.
Well, I mean, it's, you have this feeling, right? You're working on the game and you're thinking, hey, this is a good Hitman game. You're sitting and you're playing with it and the mechanics are gelling and he looks great and the story's coming together in a way that doesn't involve too many rednecks and nuns. And it's just really, it feels like a game that wants to be. And it's fantastic to be involved in bringing it out.
So I know before we were talking, we went to dinner, everybody. No big deal. I go to dinner sometimes with Torben. You want to talk about elusive targets.
Yeah.
What do you want to say about elusive targets?
Well, elusive targets are the next thing that we're adding into the experience, right? And it's sort of an answer to a question, right? What would it feel like to get that call? For Diana to call you and say, the forger is in Paris for 48 hours. You're cleared to engage. And knowing that there's a unique character there who's not in the game normally. Unique setup, unique story, a whole little assassination that is time limited, that you have to act on. But then wrapping it into a tougher game mode, taking away the tools that you normally use. The guy's not shown on the map. The only help that you've got is, what does he look like? And then you run into trouble because it's a twin, right? And you have to identify him based on what he talks about. And you only have 48 hours, and if you die, you can't try again. So it was three things, right? It was this idea of a memorable target, a little target that you could stand and talk with a friend about and discuss how you engaged it. The second one was this experience of being the assassin, getting that call, knowing that you have a limited time to engage. And finally, this hard is sexy experience of knowing that if it cocks up, you're done. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with when we bring those out as part of the next episodes.
And that's the problem with all of you. You're all masochists. That doesn't sound fun at all. You're going to go in, what if I fuck it up? It's all over and I ruined everything. Y'all should get help. Now, one of the reasons I'm here, of course, to host this is that you wanted to talk about PlayStation exclusive content. And when somebody says something about PlayStation exclusive content, they know my ears perk up and I come a-running with my Shuhei Yoshida flag. So what do you guys have? Who are the Sarajevo 6?
Sarajevo 6.
Who are they?
I mean, it's something that Michael and I worked on together to conceptualize. Maybe you can just talk us through the top level of that?
Oh yeah, the idea is, I think my mic...
Come here, come to the podium, come here. I will. Come here. Michael, they're waiting, come here. You sit here, you talk right in that guy.
All right then. Ooh. Sure. Well, Sarajevo 6 is a way of playing around with locations and events that we've seen in the main campaign, just looking at it from a different angle. Me and Torben have been looking at saying, okay, this has nothing to do with the main story or the main campaign, but it is a sort of a parallel universe. It's the idea that this is the world of Assassination after all, and if you have a fashion show in Paris, you went there to kill Novikov and Margoldes, sure, but you could just as well have been there for a different reason. There are plenty of targets to engage. Yeah. So in this case, we devised this storyline where we placed a target in each of the locations and tied them into the events we know from the main campaign, and then tied together narratively, of course.
Yeah. So I mean, we we sat down and we thought about how could we tell a story that was 6 targets, that was a campaign that would carry you through these locations, that would make sense within the context of the locations, but would be their own storyline. And it was really interesting to see how we could do that with the same kinds of things that we learned from Elusive Targets and Escalations. And the guy in Paris is Scott Sarno, who is the head of European operations for the Cicada Private Military Corporation. You know them from Paris, the guys in the suits with the blue ties, the guys who kill you all the time, right? Their boss is the target of the first of the Sarajevo 6 missions. And I mean, it's an example of the way that we can use the platform that we've built to tell a campaign story that has nothing to do with the main story. And the possibilities that gives us for more storytelling and different kinds of storytelling on the game are absolutely fantastic. But, I mean, they are linked to the locations, one in each location, and I think we actually have a trailer for Sapienza lined up, so the next one of the Sarajevo 6 targets.
Yes, you
Do you guys want to see a trailer?
Here we go.
Welcome back, 47. I trust you found your time in Paris successful. The agency has located your second target in the Italian coastal town of Sapienza. We have learned that Gary Lunn, formerly known as the Enforcer for the Sarajevo 6, is working at the Ether Corporation Biolab, supervising high-level security. This is an exclusive holiday destination, 47, and the agency would discourage a public elimination. Although the target was part of the same Cicada paramilitary unit as Scott Sarno, there is no indication that he has learned of his colleague's death. Lunn is likely to be found in the luxurious Villa Caruso or the Ether Biolab. You should expect access to these areas to be restricted and the laboratory security to be particularly heavy. I'll leave you to prepare. Good luck.
So that looks cool. It's out super soon. It's PlayStation exclusive, but it has nothing to do with the real story. So what the hell's happening in episode 2? Like, where are you? You do episode 1. Where are you guys going? What are you building to?
I mean, episode 2 is so different to episode 1. Part of what we wanted to deliver was this feeling of tourism, right? Tourism physically, traveling to a fantastic Italian coastal town, but also tourism socially, going to the key fashion event of the year, and it sort of allows us to travel the world, as Michael mentioned, this idea of being the apex predator, the guy who can take out the people who no one else can. So episode 2 is very different. It takes us to a different part of the world and challenges us to take out different kinds of targets. And I think to kind of give you a sense of the place, if not the mission, we've actually put together a playthrough that I think we'd like to take you through.
Yeah, we did indeed. So actually, you lovely PAX people and PS4 fans are in for a special treat because we have Sapienza Episode 2 playable at the Sony booth in the shape and form of a very special contract we did. It's called the PAX Paradigm, where you have to take out 2 targets. One is called Ray Marcello, it's a chef, and the other guy is called Torres Piombo. Now, the cool thing about this is it was actually created with contracts mode within the game that comes with the game. It allows you to mark up to 5 targets, and you can take them out in every imaginable way, and the game will track how you did it, what kind of weapon you used, what kind of disguise you used, and then you can, you can name the contract, you can name the contract, and you can create your own backstory to it as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And in this case, actually, someone decided these 2 guys are...
Don't look at me.
Don't look at you. These guys are former cult leaders who did something pretty terrible. They kind of led 17 of their followers into a pretty gruesome ritual suicide, but they were too afraid to take their own lives, so they kind of, got into hiding.
The worst kind of cult leaders.
Yeah, and 47 kind of makes sure fate catches up with them, and I'm really wondering who comes up with this stuff, right?
I know who comes up with it.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
looking
pretty
at him.
Right. So, yes, so, and actually we brought, well, we don't want to spoil too much, but we brought a little playthrough with us where I take on one of those targets, Chef Marcelo. And if you guys are up for it, we can show it to you.
Do you want to see a gameplay demo?
All right, let's do this.
I do too, and I'm going to go watch from the audience.
All right, so here we are in the beautiful Italian coastal town of Sapienza. It's a very, lazy, relaxed day. Everybody's sipping on lattes, having some ice cream, and just having a general good time, enjoying their selfies, of course. Except for one guy, right?
No, he doesn't like cameras.
Nah, and he has a very different agenda. So we're on the hunt for Chef Marcelo. And since he's working as a chef, he will probably be in this big villa, right? So we activate instinct. We saw him back there, so he's actually in there. And now it's up to us to find a way inside.
I can't let you through looking like that.
And I don't know why. He's a very stylish guy.
Big surprise.
It looks
Front
like $1
gate
million
is not
bucks.
working. So let's find something else.
One of the things that just immediately jumps out at you is the fact he's not in the suit, right? I mean, obviously if you want to, you can have him wear the suit, but what would he wear if he was in a hot place?
Relax. It's all good. I put some candy.
There's some sort of argument there going, but that doesn't concern us right now. This store is much more interesting. But oh snap, it does need a card, and we don't have that card on us.
Or anything else that could open the door, like a crowbar or a breaching charge.
Or a lockpick. Breaching charge, man.
Yeah. As a part of Sapienza, there's a whole palette of new tools, a new sniper rifle, a bunch of new awesome things in the Deadliest Candy Shop that'll give you lots of new ways to play Paris, but also to play in Sapienza.
Yes, now we just saw this guy upside there, on the upper floor, talking down there, and he's living pretty close to this villa, so maybe we kind of find a way up there somewhere, somehow.
I mean, he's the stories that go on in the city are parts of the level, and there are advantages to be gained from learning what's going on and what these people are doing and how they interact with the different parts of the city.
Yes, in this case, I mean, this front door is locked, the guy's inside, so we need to find a way to drag him out without necessarily, doing a breach charge or...
Yes, I mean, breach charge is the way to go.
So we decided, to flood the sink and just ring friendly at the door.
Yes, because Hitman always rings twice. So, I mean, did you hit him when he opened the door? No? What? Okay, so... Okay. Right. The way I do this when I need to get into that room is I ring the door and then hit him in the head when he comes out. But it seems like Sven was just going to let him walk out and slip past him.
I'm more of a silent assassin kind of guy, taking things slow, be a ghost.
No, I do the stabbing.
All right, so this guy is not very pleased that we flooded the sink. But now this door is open and we can actually go inside. So it's a pretty messy place. Kind of reminds me on your desk, actually, Torben.
I'm a creative. I'm allowed to have a messy desk.
Right.
Stop that.
Okay, but now we're here on this balcony. We can look inside of this villa premises. We see a very inviting door here.
And, I mean, also one of the things that we're seeing here is the way that we approach level design, more top level for a place like Sapienza. We think about it as places without dead ends. This idea that you never get to a point where you are forced to turn back because there is no way to proceed. There is always a way to proceed. It might be challenging. You might need to swap disguises or have a breaching charge or a shotgun or something, but you can always move forward. And the whole level, even though it is really, really dense and rich, is a series of these loops. So the goal was to make sure that you never ended up in a dead end. There was always a way to move on.
And now we're actually inside. We're inside the kitchen where, the chef usually resides. And he's right there having a cigarette, as all good Italian chefs, right, in the kitchen. But it's probably a bad idea to take him out here, because there's a lot of people surrounding him. But we're in a sort of a dangerous situation here. Now, our only way out here is this window, in my case, right?
But again, it comes down to freedom, right? Because there are a lot of different ways the situation could have been managed, right? The radio just behind us that you can hear, a distraction on that, could have moved people around. So maybe you could have got into the waiter without anyone seeing you. Obviously, you could also have just gone in guns blazing. In this playthrough, obviously, Sven chose to go in suit only, which makes things a lot more challenging. Because he's simply not allowed to be here. So he needs to be very careful of who sees him.
Yes, and that's why I decided to explore a little bit more of this area. Just, just want to make sure that, I'm kind of alone, and just trying also to figure out an escape route already.
And as you know from playing Hitman games, right? It's about making a plan and scoping out how you're going to engage it and then executing on the plan. And we're in the great situation that obviously now we have a really robust save game that allows you to experiment with the game in ways that weren't possible in Absolution. But obviously what we're seeing here is not a first-time playthrough. This is someone who knows the target and knows how he moves and knows that there's an opportunity here to take him out without being spotted.
Yes, in this case, I knew that he will go for a telephone call at some point. And you maybe also noticed when I was walking around this corner, there was a lot of guards and people that will definitely recognize me that I don't belong here. But here he is.
Don't know why I bothered. I've got credentials from Tokyo.
And obviously contracts have rules. One of the requirements on this guy is to take him out with a silenced pistol. So, done. Job done.
Right. So what also ties into the scoring is, of course, get rid of the evidence. So we need to hide his body. And as mentioned earlier, there was a couple of guards around the corner. So in order to move a little bit more freely around this area, we decided to take the chef's disguise.
That guy is just having the voice break.
Because everyone likes a chef, right?
Well, nobody notices a chef, right? That's the big change that we made to the way disguises work. Those of you who've played it in Paris obviously know this already. We went from being the like-to-like enforcement, where anyone who was dressed like a chef would know you weren't a chef, to something that was more narratively founded. Oops. Who would know that this guy was a chef?
Rookie mistake here. So you really have to be careful when you infiltrate an area like that, because there are security cameras, and in case they spot you, you need to find the videotapes and destroy the evidence as well. Otherwise, your score goes down.
And that's obviously what we do in story mode. It's a scoring factor, which is obviously super important if you're trying to get the highest possible score on a contract like this. But in escalations, we actually take cameras and turn them into a challenge in their own right. Like if you get spotted by a camera, you've got to delete the tapes within 2 minutes, or the game ends. But the really great thing about disguises is you get the ability to move around in spaces as if you belonged there. Really great sense of kind of stalking.
It's also very important that you explore your surroundings. You can see there's a couple of very useful tools that can be used in various ways.
But mostly for killing, obviously.
And as you can see here, there's a little drop down that might be a good way to get out of here. But we have a little problem. There's a couple of guards spotting us out, and this guy is actually coming up to us. So we need to think of something.
So I think it's coin time, right?
Coin.
Yes.
Coin?
Coin, hit in head. Magic disguise change, coin.
Yes, although I use this classical, coin distract the enemy, there's lots of other ways to distract the guys. As you saw earlier in the kitchen, right? You could turn off the radio.
Check it out. Please stand by.
He's really thorough.
Yeah, he is. You've got to admire his dedication.
Dedication to this.
Yes. I just hope it doesn't end badly for him. Knowing Sven, it probably does.
Yeah, well.
No neck snap?
Nah, that would be bad, because then I would
Well,
non-target kill.
Yes.
Which is bad for my score. And I also decided to choose to change the disguise again. talking to one of the security guys, and yes, I'm
What
going to
is
hide
that?
the body.
That is
And-
horrible, Sven.
No, you didn't.
No.
No, he actually didn't.
Yes, no, I did not. But maybe you can.
Come
That
on.
puts shredding the evidence on a whole new level, I would say.
That guy has kids to feed.
Why would you even do that, Sven?
Well, I considered it. I mean, I did it a couple times, but I didn't record it. So yeah, here there's a security camera again, and we learned from our mistakes, so you can actually take out these guys. In this specific case, I mean, of course, we took it out now, but we already recorded, so you would have needed to search the room with the videotapes. Also, we need to hurry up a little here, because time is also a factor that goes into the contract, right, Torben?
Well, yeah, I mean, we kept the same basic design philosophy from Contracts Mode and Absolution, which was if you did the contract according to the rules, how and specific disguises and specific weapons, then time was a factor. But if you weren't following the rules, it didn't matter how fast you went. So you need to do what the creator did, and better, and ideally also faster.
Yeah. Here we are at the beach. Probably recognize this little crocodile floaty there. What is he doing?
He's a street mime, so I think he's on the top of everyone's kill list.
Worst disguise in the world. Everyone tries to kill you on sight.
Yes.
Yes, you can see here we have all sorts of little shops you can actually go into, and they may or may not have a tie to certain storylines.
But I mean, just walking around and exploring the level like this, it's got nothing to do with the main story. It's looking at all of the different things, like the scooter we walked past there. I mean, that's an accident waiting to happen. If you've got the right tool to sabotage it with, then it's a question of luring the right target over to it and then blowing it up. And then you've got a challenging murder mystery for someone else to try and figure out.
Yeah.
And gas lines and God knows what. This city is a health and safety disaster.
Yeah.
But also you can see this whole idea of avoiding dead ends, right? Whenever you get to a point where you think you're blocked off by something, it's actually a little gameplay puzzle to move on.
And I think you can also consider there's a vast and huge difference to Paris. This is a whole new ballgame, and this is actually something we're really aiming for, that we're going to deliver something really different with every episode.
And that's different in terms of story, in terms of place, in terms of the gear that you can unlock and take back to other levels to play with, just really expanding the world as we move around.
Yeah. And we kind of finished as we started. As I was saying, I'm not giving away all the secrets of this contract. There's actually another guy that lives up there. I think I activated Instinct here. Yeah, you can see it living upstairs. And one of those modifiers is actually, in order to do this contract the proper way, I would have needed to take this guy out first, because one of the modifiers is I need to wear a hippie outfit when I kill the chef. So.
So I mean, as Sven mentioned, that contract is playable down in the Sony booth, so take a shot at it.
Yeah, got you. Please try it. We'll be hanging around there from time to time. Thank you, guys.
Oh, you guys got good news. You can do Q&A. Q&A is still happening. There's microphones in the back. Please jump on them to ask your questions. I'll start before they get in there. How many, I mean, is it for you every episode is going to go to a different location? Is that your plan, to put it in a different part of the world?
In general terms, yes.
Yeah.
The idea is that every time a new location comes out, you're getting a substantially new experience.
Okay.
That's also one of the part of things. What? Oh, yes.
No, you still going?
No. It's
Sven's
just
got
like-
something to say, everybody. Hold on.
Yeah, I was just saying travel the world. That's one of our big things, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, every new location has a main mission beat,
Gotcha.
campaign mission.
Yeah.
Sir in the fantastic shirt.
Hello, my name's Matt.
Hey, Matt.
I really enjoyed the first episode, so thank you for that, by the way. But I know one of the big controversies with it was the fact that it was always online, right? You kind of had to be connected, and I think the auto-saving's really good, so I didn't really have too much of a problem with it. I only got disconnected once. But what was the thought process behind that, and what feedback have you been getting? Like, would you do it differently if you could? That kind of thing.
Well, I mean, the saying goes, no plan survives contact with the enemy, right?
Sure.
And the same thing goes for any game design. But from the beginning, our creative decision was that we wanted to have the flexibility to see what was going on and to respond to what was going on. So, I mean, the game can absolutely be played offline, but all of the stuff that we needed and wanted to be able to work with, contract mode obviously, and escalations and challenges and scoring, all of that absolutely depends on the logic that lives in the server. So what we did really, one of the first things that we did coming out of Absolution was to take the things that we wanted to be able to change and simply lift them out of the client and run them in the cloud. So that's the reason for it at a fundamental level. It's to give us the ability to expand and adapt and moderate and improve the gameplay experience without having to patch the game all the time.
Thank you.
Do you think, I mean, obviously you've seen it, the always online thing gets people fired up. Is that one of those things where you think that's crazy, or do you think it's one of those that as a developer you have to prove it to people that this is the future, this is what it needs to be?
Absolutely. I mean, we need to demonstrate that there's value in this, and it's the reason why we're focusing so hard on adding to the game and leveraging the things that we can do with escalations and challenges and all of this stuff to actually demonstrate that we watch what's happening and we bring back to the game based on what's happening there.
Gotcha. Ninja Turtle shirt, how you doing?
Doing good. My name is Michael. I saw your latest bit, Sapienza. It reminded me a lot of Hitman 2, sneaking into the Don's Villa, that particular mission. Is that any inspiration, or is that completely not on your radar?
Well, if you Google Italian coastal town, you will see that place.
Okay.
If you look at the latest Sniper Elite, you will see that place, right? It's because that's what it looks like.
Do you think Hitman 2 inspired that Italian coastal town to look that way?
Obviously.
I mean, come on. I mean, we travel in time, so that's how it worked.
Is one of the reasons you try to move it all around the globe so that you can actually go to these places and take cool vacations and take, I'm taking reference shots?
No,
I wish it was
it's hard work.
Yes, sir.
In the Hitman games, they always imply that there's other hitmen, other people working for the company. Have you guys ever considered having a co-op mode where you and your friend could try to tackle a contract?
We have, yes, absolutely. I mean, we think about all kinds of stuff. But I mean, the big thing that we felt we had to do coming out of Absolution was go back to the roots, right? Step back and say, if we made Blood Money today, it would be this game. It would have this technological baseline for us to be expanding. And then we can move on from there, as opposed to trying to throw everything out the window and make something new. We needed, I think, to go back and prove to you, but also to ourselves, that we had this. So
there are many things that we would like to do, of course, creatively, but some of them, like what you're mentioning, is a huge undertaking, and if we do it, it has to be done right.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Hello, gentleman.
Hi there. I was just wondering, did you have any plans of remaking the fan favorite levels of like Blood Bunny 1, like with the new mechanics, design of like the new Hitman? Because like there's like the PC version, not many people played it, and there's so many good levels in the first Hitman, and like I wish you could play with the new mechanics. So.
Absolutely. I mean, everyone has a favorite level, right? I think the Opera House is probably mine. But when we think about levels and new levels, we look for inspiration. We look for a feeling that you would have had from a previous level. Maybe we will throw in references to the Opera House or St. Petersburg or things like that. But we would, I feel, maybe it's just a creative ego, right? But I would rather build something new than go back and revisit something that we did previously. I mean, I love referring to things, so smart and perceptive players will think, oh, right, this is totally a new life or something. But we feel that we want to look outwards and come up with new locations that hopefully will become fan favorites in their own right.
All right, thank you.
I think it's also safe to say that if you really go deep in the game right now, there's a lot of stuff in there for longtime Hitman fans where you go like, oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is going to sound like a stupid question, but I tell you it's sincere at the front. Do you worry about running out of not locations, but I guess scenarios and crazy things to go have people murdered in?
The short answer is
no.
no.
Okay.
The world
Yes,
is
sir.
full of asshats.
Hi, how are you doing? Patrick. But
AI.
does Alan still write details for the Hitman games? It's a joke from one of the Easter eggs, but that's not even it. My real question is, I always like the comedy in the Hitman games. It's very subtle and used sparingly, especially like when the guy gets off the phone with his doctor with the cancer.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you like embracing those comedic moments as a offset to the very stern nature of Hitman?
We do embrace it. It's trying to draw a line between having a story that's fairly serious and then having this undergrowth of comedy, which is, even if you wanted to, it's impossible to avoid because of the stuff that can actually happen. It's ludicrous. So you just have to embrace it. And there's, if you start listening to what's actually going on, I think we're trying to find a balance of seriousness in the actual storyline, and then allowing ourselves to embrace that dark humor especially in the ambient layer of the mission. So it's still very much a part of the Hitman experience.
Yeah. And I mean, as Michael says, we build the main storylines to be grounded and quite straight things, but one of the things that the format of, for example, Elusive Targets gives us is to look at characters who are more blood money, right? I mean, I don't think we'd do another Meat King, but characters like that who are very much larger than life work really well in a format that is a little bit tongue-in-cheek, a little bit alternate reality. So definitely, I mean, the game needs to be serious, right? It's a serious topic, but it also needs to be funny, because this subject matter could very easily become crazy grim, and I wouldn't want to play it.
I think the Vampire Magician is a good example of that, right?
Vampire Mission, yeah, he's a good icebreaker. He definitely breaks the tension. Yes, sir, in the amazing shirt.
Hi, my name is George. I have a question for you. As a fan from history, also loving the movie series, don't know if anybody agrees with me or not, but I always wonder why the game's always stuck with mission-based stories and the movie's always off-skirt as an agent on the run. Are we ever going to experience that in a video game?
So could you repeat the last part? Are we ever going to experience?
Are we ever going to experience Agent 47 on the run from his own agency, or everybody hunting him down?
I think that's a very cinematic storyline you're describing. That's the sort of thing you do in a movie. I think we were talking about earlier, if someone had approached us like 5 years ago and said, you know, what should Hitman be, a film or a TV series? Then to me, it's absolutely a TV series, because that's the way his life is constructed. It's missions. So we are going for something different, something more long-term.
But I mean, also coming out of Absolution, which in many ways is the sort of storyline that you're describing, we felt that it was necessary to step back and look at the man really at the height of his power, being the most dangerous man in any given room, traveling the world and taking out these impossible targets, and just re-establish that as the baseline of our franchise. And after that, I mean, we can start doing things in different formats, like Elusive Targets or Sarajevo 6 style campaigns, but it was very much about going back to really the fundamentals of Agent 47.
But as I mentioned earlier, you will also see that as the season progresses, the main story and the mission stories will start to merge and build towards something that is much more, a story at least that's more along the lines of what you're saying, not exactly that.
Yes.
But
no spoilers, please.
Yeah. Something of a more cinematic nature, if you will. But we thought it was important to ease into the game in a way where you just get a sense of what it's like to be him. Wait, it's Tuesday, if you will.
Yes, Hitman on a Tuesday.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, my name's Trapper. I'm kind of new to the series.
Hey.
One question I've had is, with multiplayer, have you ever thought of maybe constructing a mode where one player was the target and has to evade an assassin while another player is said assassin? Has anything like that ever come up?
Absolutely. I mean, as the question that was asked previously, I mean, we do an enormous amount of experimentation, but for this game, we felt we needed to go back to what we had promised and what we're all about, which is blood money, right? It's that feeling of being the most dangerous man in the world in a grounded world that isn't superheroes and robots and demons, right? And where we go in terms of multiplayer and that kind of game mode is stuff that we can look at in the future.
All right, thank you.
Final question.
Hi, my name is Zach. One of the things I very much liked about all the older games was the fact that you could go around the environment and find such things to help you progress in the mission so much. Like in Blood Money, the birthday party, when you go to the dentist office, you find the tranquilizers, you eventually climb up into the clubhouse, find the BB guns, you're able to take out the Rottweilers. With maps this big, are you going to be able to hide such things like that in the games?
I'm thinking forward to, well, I'm actually thinking of Sapienza. In one of the apartments, there is a very useful little tool that's been made to help get rid of someone who likes playing golf. So, yes, is the short answer.
All right. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, don't get up. Don't freak out. We have another thing to show you, but I want to say goodbye to everybody before we do then, right? Because when the trailer ends, you all applaud, and then everybody goes their separate ways. So let's remind you of a few things. Episode 1's out. Sven, should they get it?
Definitely.
Part 2. Episode 2's coming. Sven, when's it coming?
April 26th.
That's fairly soon, isn't it? Part 3. You can go play the cool PlayStation content down at the PlayStation booth. Right, Sven?
Oh, I hope so.
Also tonight we're doing
We're
doing a Hitman kind of funny party over at Coppersmith. Starts at 8, goes to 1. Grimecraft's playing, but please come out, enjoy that, right, Sven?
Yeah, definitely. We're going to be there.
You gonna drink a few beers, Sven?
Yeah, maybe a couple.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Happy to talk to all of you.
So now, ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for your panel, please.
Thank you, guys. Thanks a lot.
Very much.